And what I would submit to you is we are living in a time of unprecedented economic, social, moral, political war. Let me tell you that there is a war behind the wars, and that the problems that we have will not be solved with just elections, politicians. They will not necessarily be solved with masks or mandates, that ultimately we're going to need the presence of God to heal the problems that we truly have. Okay? In addition, here in Job 38, in addition to the stars, it speaks of the sons of God or the gods. These are divine beings, just as we are human beings. They do not necessarily have a gender, though they can appear incognito and undercover for divine assignment. That's why Hebrews 13:2 says that some have entertained angels unknowingly. So here's what I'm telling you, that there is the unseen realm and the seen realm, and for God, these two realms form one reality. I'll give you an example of how we were supposed to live together. We'll get into it in a moment. Do you remember the story of Genesis 3, Adam and Eve? So a serpent comes up, we'll deal with this at the very end, has a conversation with Eve. How many of you women find that odd? Like how many of you, like if a large snake came to your house and started talking to you, you would be less cavalier than Eve is in that conversation. She seems very matter of fact. She's like, oh, the snake's here, we're chatting. I don't know about you, that seems odd. Like if I came home and Grace was talking to a large serpent, I'd be talking to Grace. That seems odd to me. Eve is not terrified, startled, and there's nothing unusual about her conversation, because what that was a conversation with a divine being. Before sin entered the world and God kicked us out of the garden, we had constant interaction between the seen and the unseen realm, and it was not unusual to see divine beings. Ultimately, these two realities work together. They do work together. Now, if God is trying to build family in the seen realm and the unseen realm, and God's intent is for the seen realm and the unseen realm to be one reality that work together, and that ultimately God's divine family and God's human family would be working together, then the question is, well, what has gone so wrong in our world? Well, that's where the storyline of the Bible, quite frankly, is the only thing that makes sense of reality in the world. See, well, here's what we're told in the world. We're good and getting better. How many of you, you're not seeing that? We're evolving. Let me tell you this, we're not evolving. If anything, we're devolving. We have the evolutionary chart backwards. We didn't start as monkeys, but we're on our way. Right? The world is not getting better. All of our advancements in technology and war, it's just ultimately to create more pornography and murder more babies. We're not making progress. We're just not making progress. And so what everybody thinks is we're good and getting better, and the Bible says, no, we're bad and getting worse. And ultimately, the problem is spiritual and it's supernatural. So everything that God seeks to build, Satan seeks to break. So Satan breaks family in the unseen realm. Okay? Revelation 12 tells us. So God, before sin entered the world, all God had before he made us was his divine family. And God built a divine family. And then one member of that family, a created being, a high-ranking divine being, we know him as Satan or Lucifer, he decided he would declare war on God. And you know what he did? He attacked God's divine family. I'll read it to you. Revelation 12, 7 through 9. Now war arose in heaven. Michael, one of the named angels, and his angels, God doesn't fight these battles because Satan is not a peer with God. Satan is created. God is creators. Satan has power, but God is all powerful. And so you don't need even to, you can exercise the God-given authority that he has given you. And here Michael uses his delegated divine authority, and he is able to defeat Satan of his own accord. God doesn't even need to get involved. Okay? Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon. And the dragon and his angels, divine beings that are now fallen and rebellious, fought back, and he was defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. So God built a family in the unseen realm. Satan decided that he was going to break the family that God was building. Ultimately, God's family fought back, but there was a division. So let me say this. I want to be very careful with this. There was a divorce in heaven. There was a divorce in heaven. Satan decided that he was going to divorce himself from God, and then all of the angels had to decide which parent they were going with. And some of the demons sided with Satan, and they joined the rebellion, and some of the angels sided with God. And as a result, what happened in God's family, for God's divine family, it felt a lot like a divorce. Some of you grew up in a household of divorce. You're like, we were together, and then we were separated, and people took sides, and it felt like war. That happened in God's family in the unseen realm.